Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I am here with one of my favorite people on the planet Earth, the amazing Ayanna Holloway. This is I like to call her my niester. So,
Easter is in the building.
welcome,
Yay!
welcome. Let me get you some applause because you know you need some applause in here, right? Let's go.
Yeah, well, for sure. Everybody gets applause.
Round of applause. So, Ayanna, introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are and why I love you the most.
Ah! Not that I didn't know that.
Mhm.
I'm Ayanna Holloway. I am Tamara's niece. I'm the person that taught her how to aunt.
So yeah, so you've been my niece since I've been what, 5 years
Six,
old, six
five
years
or
old?
six, six, six,
Five or
six. Yeah.
six. So it's like, yeah, you did teach me how to aunt. So I've been aunting for a very long time. At that time where I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to be someone's aunt. I'm
I
like,
know,
fine.
but she's so adorable. Like, how do you not aunt this person?
So because of that, we kind of grew up together. So we have that bond that is super, super crazy. So
Right.
I mean, like, so you watched this journey
So many
from you
stories.
to America, to Jersey, to Camden, to Jersey, to New York, to Memphis, to Orlando, to Monument Digital, to I mean, you are the person that I am like, okay, great, I have this idea. No.
You are the ultimate risk taker. You are the I actually feel like you're the only person I know that takes the kind of risks that you take. You make me scared.
Wow. Okay. I'm not
Sometimes
jumping out of planes or anything.
I did that.
I'm like, I make you scared. You jump out of planes. I'm not jumping out of planes.
No, but I just, and we talked about this before, right? I just feel like there's times where you're like, I'm gonna do this in this amount of time. I'm like, wait a second, it takes most people 60 days. You're like 2 weeks, and I'm like, you don't wanna pump the brakes a little bit. But you've always been determined like that. Like since I could remember, you've always been the person to do things that make my heart stop, where I'm like, I would have thought that through twice. And then, right? But I think where you're just very clear. So when you come to me and you make those comments, or you say, "Hey, you make these declarations, I'm going to do this." I've come to learn that you've actually thought this through 5 times, 6 times over, right? I think at the beginning you'd be like, "Oh my God, what does she mean?" And now it's more like, okay, I mean, where we going? What we doing? Right. So,
Right.
I've been on this journey with you for a very, very for 44 years almost.
Right. So, talk about that time that when I had to leave my job before I started Monoman Digital, that
Uh-huh.
you wrote you wrote the application for
My
me, and it was
resignation
crazy,
letter.
right? Because I was just like, I knew I needed to get out of the environment I was in, and I had already detached myself from it, and so I didn't want anything more to do. So I was just like, hey, could you write this letter for me? And I'll forward it over. And it was just like, I don't know what the words were because I was
I
just
don't even
so
remember what the words were. It's somewhere on my computer. It's saved
I
somewhere.
was so detached. I just need you to take care of this for me. I mean, I've had you open. I remember things I've been not afraid of, but that thing I wasn't afraid of. I think I was just done and I needed it to not be a big deal. I needed the
Right.
resignation to not be this emotional pull, all the things, right?
Yeah.
I remember also having a client one time who was who is,
Not
maybe
it.
me, not it. And I
Not
remember
it.
the message, and I was just like, I was so anxious about everything that was going on with that client. And I remember not being able to open the message. And I was just like, hey, I'm going to screenshot this over to you to read. Because sometimes I'm like, I let you read my bad news first. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna get the plan. And I'm like, okay, great. What are we gonna do? You're like, I'm like, I have to get rid of this client because it's blah 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 blah. But it was some of those moments where I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I can look at this. You're like the person who is
I'm
like,
like,
I'll look for
I'll do
you.
it. I'll do it.
You're like 100% my like super safe space.
Yeah.
All the crazies that I'm thinking about, overthinking. I'm like, I run it by you, and you're like, okay, all the inappropriate things.
All the things. I'm the filter. Too soon, too much? No, you're
Yeah,
fine.
you're like, oh, I don't know if you could say it that way. Oh, okay, tight, sugarcoat it.
Minus the 5, carry the 2. So yeah, that time was a very interesting time for both of us because I think we were both in transition because I was out of work at that time as well. And you and I were on the phone one day, and I remember you saying you're going to go full blown into Monovan, right? It was the beginning of the beginning, right? You were working it part time, and then you were like, "No, we're going to do this full fledged." And we actually came up with a strategy, right? Like how we're going to move you through. You took time down from work and all that stuff, and then when you were ready, and I think we actually had a deadline, we had a date in mind that you were going to be sending in that letter. And so we knew about it for a while. And then, yeah, one day you were just kind of like, I don't want to write this. And I was like, I'll do it. And I'm sure it was a great letter. I don't remember what I put in it. It was so long ago now, right? It was like, what, 5, 6 years ago? But I remember, like, in most cases I feel like I would not be comfortable penning something like that for somebody, but because I understood you and I understood your voice and what you were trying to relay, and I don't feel like this was really the first time you jumped into the deep end where you're like, I'm sending in this resignation letter, I'm going to move on to the next thing, right? I remember you did that 20 years prior and called me and was like, I quit my job. And I was like, I held my breath. Right. So doing this now at this point was really kind of like the culmination. Like I saw this happening. I knew it was happening. It was time. The timing was right. It needed to happen, right? You needed to shine. And not that you didn't shine in all the other places you've been and all the other roles you've held, but there was something about doing this that was just right. And it was perfect timing. And yeah, I just remember you not really being very attached to it, right? So, and I think that made it easier for me to just go in and just type up this letter and be like, you don't want to read it? You were like, no. And I was like, okay, here you go, hit send. Done and
Sometimes
done.
I sometimes I have to detach from things. I
Yeah,
had transitioned already into the other space.
you
So that
did.
was, and there was so much baggage there. I remember leaving that job and there was just so much baggage that, it was all the things that I was just like, yeah, I can't, this is not the right
It just
space for
felt heavy. Yeah, it
me.
felt heavy. It felt
Yeah,
like you had done all the things you needed to do there, right?
yeah,
Like I do believe as you go into these roles in your life, whatever those experiences are, you get to learn from that. And I think you've always done that, right? You soak things up like a sponge, right? Like you're always looking to learn something. You're always tinkering in the back office trying to understand and figure out things, and right? And I think that's also part of our upbringing, right? Like daddy used to always be in the yard doing something, measuring something, all that stuff, right? And we both
you
did
were
it.
tinkering with him.
Yeah, we both do that in very interesting ways, right? Because yeah, I saw where you were just kind of like, yeah, I got all that I needed to get here, and I think they were holding you back, to be honest, right? I think, in all fairness, I think you had outgrown the space, and it was time for you to take all of that knowledge, all of that information, and take it and run with it and be Monovan Digital. So yeah, kudos to you for real.
100%, man. Could you imagine? I'm gonna be 50.
No. I thought you were
What?
younger than me.
Wow. I am. So sometimes, okay, well, sometimes I tell a horrible story. It's not even, it's like I pretend that she's younger than me and that like my sister had
Mhm.
12. One time I was telling the story and I was just like, yeah, I'm younger than her. Like my sister had one
Mhm.
12, and she's like, look, you looked up like, what? I was like, oh, it's how I'm younger than you.
Yeah, you're very
Right?
creative. You're in the perfect job, very creative.
It was a good story. It was a good story, but yeah. So no, I'm like,
Yeah.
as I lean into it, it's like, all the things. And I was thinking back about Daddy, right? And he ran his first marathon at 50. He always ran, but he did his first marathon at 50. And I was
Yeah.
just thinking about that the other day, and I was just like, man, I'm like, I wanted to, in honor of him, I wanted to run a marathon at 50. But then I was just like, I'm like, wait.
It's the marathon. 50 to 50.
Oh my God.
This is the marathon, actually.
This is the marathon. And it was just like, it was mind blowing for me that I was just like, oh my goodness. So that space I wanted to be in, I find myself in that same space, which is,
Yeah.
kudos, shout outs to Ivan Montlouis
Yeah. Yeah.
for,
Bean. The
that, yeah,
bean.
bean, right? I have a bean on my neck for Bob, the bean. So,
The bean.
um,
Yeah.
all his names, but it's like I connected the dots that I'm running the marathon, and it's like 30 to
Just in a
60.
different way.
It's just in a different way, and it's
Yeah.
like it's the gauntlet. It's that thing that you must do. It's the consistency. It's showing up, because he prepared for that marathon for so many other years, right? He ran all the time. So I looked back and I was just like, oh man, I am where I need to be.
Yeah.
The gauge is right. Where was he? I'm where I need to be, right? Yeah.
Right. So the thing is that you've been doing that, right? I remember being in California with you when we had to go for our cousin's funeral, and you were waking up at 4 a.m. to do your show that you committed to do for 365 days, right? And then you had a reality television show on YouTube, and then, right? So you've just been going through, right? And I'm like, wow, I've been there to witness all of this, right? So yeah, no, I don't believe you're turning 50. By the way, you look amazing. Because I haven't seen you on camera in a bit. You look great. Okay.
I would
But
say
yeah, you look amazing. Slap me a little bit.
I know, right?
But yeah, I'm proud of you.
Oh,
I see you all the
that.
time.
You tell me all
I
the time.
I
So,
do. I feel like it's important for me to tell you that every chance I get, because I am one of the few people that watched you go through this. You changed your career. You did all these things, right? You worked so hard to get here. And yeah, celebrate yourself. Absolutely. More than celebrate yourself.
yeah,
Like, be really, really excited, proud of yourself, all the things. Because
yeah, I feel you
yeah,
100%.
you're doing
Let me say yes, not no, but it's been humbling. It's been crazy to watch, to listen. I think tomorrow, I'm gonna sit down. I don't know if I can go back and watch all the videos, because I'm like, so I feel like
I
I
watched
just
all of them.
I
I
know,
can tell
but it's thinking of like it's
yeah.
this, just to have people utter these words about me, I mean, we're definitely I'm ugh, yeah, I'm honored. I feel humbled. I feel good, and I feel
You
this
should.
is this is the best way to do it, right? I've done trips, I've done things, I've done all the things, but it's just to be able to have people reflect on my life, so
Yeah.
watching myself through the eyes of other people has been, yeah, super
Yeah.
humbling, super amazing. So
Yeah, no, definitely going back and looking at the videos too. I'm like, I remember, like, when Joel's saying this or Toure saying that. I'm like, I remember that. I remember that, right? Because I was there actually, right? And
100%,
so,
yeah.
yeah, all true things, all true things.
All true things. I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much. I had to make sure that you were in this video, because again, you were the person who, like, again, if I had to choose a best friend, it would be you. If I had to choose out of it would absolutely be you. But
So many
then,
things on the list. The
you're
niece,
my
the
family, so
sister,
then
the
those things were
bestie.
just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're like my Mr. Bestie. All the things. The person that knows me inside out. I mean, I hold my breath, and you know what I'm thinking. You're like, oh boy.
My favorite actually is when we're somewhere together and we both observe things. And then like a couple of weeks later, I'm like, so we gonna talk about we'll talk
So
about
you
this?
saw that? No, no, no. I completely 100% agree. It's like those moments where,
Yeah,
again, no words need to be said,
yeah,
ever, but I give thanks for you in my life. And, I love you, like, cook food. And, without you, I don't know where I'd be. And you are like my emotional support, support niece.
you know what? I mean, the truth is, yeah, you know, I yeah, you know, rocking out in life with you has been amazing, to be honest with you. You know, you've shown up for me in ways that I can't even imagine showing up for other people in that way, you know. And so I appreciate you. You have a heart of gold. You do. You are one of the most amazing people that I know. And so I am super excited to see what you do with the rest of this life, because the next 50 I feel like you're one of those people that are going to live forever, to be honest with
I'm
you.
fine.
You know, we're bringing out the fountain of youth around here, you know, since
Positive news. I'll make it happen. Well, Ayanna, I love you. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you. Take care. Bye.